All right. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 25, also known as Episode 136 of the Retro Game Club podcast. This is the last episode of the year. I am Hugh, and joining me is someone who's already had 3 glasses of eggnog, Rob.
Yeah. What, shockingly, in all reality, I've actually never had eggnog, just because, like, I know it's in it, and I'm a drinker.
Yeah.
And I like omelets and stuff, but I don't know. How about you?
I don't like the idea of egg in liquid form.
Exactly. Yeah, I never got it. Like, I'll have an eggnog. I'll just have the nog. Can I just have the nog?
You can do that, yeah.
What have you been up to?
Not really a lot. I've been playing that much this week. I did want to give a mention, though. So last episode, when we didn't know if it was the last episode of the year or not, now we know for sure, we were talking about this TI expansion thing we saw in the magazine, and Zach, did he own one? He knew what it was right away.
Mm-hmm.
And it was we'll put a link in the notes. It was an expansion box. It cost $1,475.1982. And it was a box where you could put a floppy drive, an RS-232 interface card, and a 32K memory expansion card.
Jeez. And it's giant.
It's giant.
It's like 2 toasters.
And they sold 250,000 of them, which is like 240,000 more than I expected.
Yeah, that's just nuts.
So that's great. That's great. This is grim, but I've been working on my Celebrity Deadpool for next year.
I was going to ask you about that. So first, how did you do this year?
I had 2 hits this year, only 2.
2, I like how you call them hits. Like you actually like made sure you won the bet.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I know some of my friends are ahead of me. So for people who are not familiar with this concept, I have friends in real life. I know it's shocking to most people. And we have a party usually between Christmas and New Year's. This year it's like probably going to be New Year's Eve. And we do our Deadpool is one of our traditions. So you pick 10 celebrities that you think are going to die in the next year, and you get 10 points for your number 1 hit, 1 point for your number 10 hit, and so on. I have won it, I think, twice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most of my friends are, I 1 or 2 of them just pick like the 10 oldest people they can find and just keep reusing them every year until they die, which sometimes works, but then you get people like, you get some people that just hang on for like
the Betty Whites of the world. Yeah,
Betty Whites. Yeah, I don't think anyone had Betty White actually.
We assumed she was immortal at that point.
Yeah. So I'll tell you my 2022 list in my 2 hits if you're curious.
Sure.
So number 10, I had Van Morrison because he was doing a lot of anti-vax stuff around this time, and I figured that would be a good ironic one, but he survived.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, hyper-local, is Bob Chin. He's a Chicago area restaurateur. He has a famous restaurant in Chicago. He was 103, and he did die in 2022, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
Number 8, Unabomber. Number 7, William the Refrigerator Perry. Football players almost never live past 60,
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, Superstar Billy Graham, because pro wrestlers usually don't live past 60.
Mm-hmm.
5, Shannon Doherty. 4, The Queen, which was a hit, of course.
Mm-hmm.
3, Johnny Lujack, another former football player that is hanging on forever. Number 2, another hyper-local one, Sister Jean. No one knows who that is outside of Chicago. Number 1, famous pool player, Jeanette the Black Widow Lee, who survived a second bout of cancer. So there you go.
And who's your picks for 2023? Do you know?
Yes, I have a draft. I reserve the right to change it.
Okay.
So number 10, I have Kanye West. Just throwing that one out there
to the universe.
To the universe, yeah. Number 9, because I hit last year, I hit a Chicago restaurateur at number 9. I'm going Dick Portillo.
Oh,
he's pretty old.
Yeah.
Too. Number 8, I got penciled in Bam Margera.
Not bad. Yeah.
7, pro wrestling legend Terry Funk. 6, Ronnie Wood of the Rolling Stones. No particular reason for picking that one. Number 5, Steve Mongo McMichael. Now, you can all think I'm a bad person for picking him, but, it's a competition. Number 4, Henry Kissinger, who I just recently learned is still alive. I actually thought he was dead.
Yeah.
3, Bob Barker. Number 2 is the only carryover from last year's list, the Unabomber. And number 1, Pele. Soccer legend
Ooh,
Pele.
yeah. And again, for our listeners, you don't want these people to die. Well, I mean, for the most part.
For the most part.
For the
There's
most
very
part.
few people on this list I would like to see die. The Unabomber, I don't think anyone's really rooting for him to pull out of his whatever undisclosed illness he has. But I'm not actively wishing for him to die, and I certainly don't want anyone to die prematurely. It's just a competition.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. But of course, if any of them die in the next week, then I have to reconfigure my list.
Yeah.
Which has happened to me. We have had that one where who was it? Wait, it could have been Betty White actually, because didn't she die in December?
I forget. It was right before she was so close to being 100, I think.
Yeah, it was there was one like that where a bunch of people if this person lives till January, then they're not gonna it was 2 years ago everybody had Rush Limbaugh number 1 because it was all the news was he's not going to survive past February or something. So again, it's grim, but it's just a thing you do for fun. And you know what? People can put me on their list. I don't care.
Yeah.
I won't be offended. What's been going on with you?
Still doing my duo collecting, and it's kind of branched out a little bit because you find other deals when you're out there searching, and I got some good deals from Facebook Marketplace. I don't know if you've ever used that, but it's worked out so far.
I don't have a Facebook account.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well, Facebook should let you make separate accounts. I want nothing to do with social media, but let me search Marketplace or Messenger or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, there was some nice dude on there. So I bought 2 things from 2 different dudes, and both of them I messaged hey, if you have, anything else you're thinking about selling soon, feel free to message me first. And one guy was like, I have these 10 random PC Engine games that are in various condition, and I'll give them to you for, cost of shipping, which ended up being $8. And I said, yeah. Half of them I don't know what they are. One of them is the Japanese version of JJ and Jeff, which I forget what that's. It's a totally different name.
Yeah, Kato and Ken-chan.
Yeah. So that's kind of a good one. It made me feel good, like someone hooking me up. I gave them lots of thank yous and stuff. And then another person had a giant collection, and he said yeah, I might think about selling some stuff. And he sent me a photo of it, and I just sent him a list of stuff I didn't have, and 3 of them he gave me a amazing price. So really got hooked up there, and so that collection's coming along. Last episode we talked about how it was weird that there was the TurboGrafx 16 and then the Turbo Duo, which had built-in memory, and we were trying to come up with you could upgrade your TurboGrafx 16 to be a Duo with, what was it, the System 3.01 card and a the
thing
CD.
you snap onto the back. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it'd be the booster or the CD, which had the booster built in, and we couldn't really come up with another system quite like that. I said, Nintendo 64 had, a RAM upgrade. Saturn kind of did, but almost nothing used it.
What was that? Did it have a RAM? I know it had because I have the Saturn memory upgrade, which is, additional save memory.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if games could use that for anything other than save memory.
I think they could. I for some reason I thought Street Fighter Alpha could, but
okay,
our listeners can write in if they know.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo never sold a variant of the N64 with the card built in. I mean, I bought the Donkey Kong 64 Nintendo 64 variant that included the RAM card because you had to have it to play Donkey Kong 64 anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was effectively like buying a Duo because but it still was a separate unit. If I recall, you still had to open the thing up and it wasn't even plugged in for you. You still had to go through and do it yourself. So I don't, it's really hard for me to think of another system that, console. Now there's probably something in Japan. Someone will write in and be like, the Wonder Mega is something, right?
Yeah.
But, in the US, we really, because again, this is a computer thing. The idea that you're going to upgrade your system is computer. So I don't really know of anything else that just had a straight up memory upgrade. And then sold it as a standalone system with that included.
Yeah. So the Duo kind of owns that market.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, speaking of us not knowing stuff, there's a lot of new listeners. We haven't really introduced the show or explained the show lately. And yeah, this is a game club, and we're two guys on the internet talking about games. We do as little research as possible. We don't write like theses about them. We play them and give our opinions, really. So if anyone's looking for facts, you're in the wrong spot.
Yeah. Every now and then we do a topic we research, but it's typically not. Like I've got one of the Art Game Club games. There's like a whole lawsuit associated with it, and I didn't go read into the history of it.
Yeah, our favorite part is people writing into us, telling us their experience of the games for Game Club. So that's kind of the point. And yeah, so since this is kind of we're just fitting in a last episode of the year, do we have any news we want to go over?
We got a couple things. There's three of these real quick things. Someone made a hack to put 4 4 Game Boy cartridges onto one cartridge, and it's the goofiest looking thing you'll see in your entire life. It's like a spinner kind of thing that like John Cena would have on his title belt, but instead of like spinning a pro wrestling logo, it's like 4 Game Boy cartridges. So this would be good for like a demo kiosk, no practical purpose outside of that. Doom running on things. Someone there's apparently like a Christmas ornament where you can, I don't know, you're supposed to put like a photo or something on it. But it's a little miniature PC Christmas ornament, and someone was able to run Doom on it.
Yeah, of course they were.
And this is not even a 1-inch by 1-inch screen. I mean, this is like an absolutely microscopic screen. So that's cool. And someone found a lost Michael Jackson game at the flea market.
Apparently it's called Scramble Training, and it's a lot of FMV.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of this before. This is definitely a case where I'm not going to be able to tell you the history of it.
Mm-hmm.
Was this this looks to me more like Star Tour. You've done Star Tours, right?
No.
Disney World. Did you go to Disney World? You went to
Disneyland.
They don't have Star Tours there.
But when I was a kid, I did Captain EO.
I did that at Universal, or whatever. No, was that Disney?
That was Disney World, yeah.
Disney World, yeah. Okay, so I did that. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Star Tours. But it actually doesn't look like a bad game. I mean,
yeah.
So,
and that was some quick news items. And what's our topic this episode?
We're just gonna look back on our favorite retro things of 2022. I was gonna limit it to 3, but I think we have more than 3, which is fine.
Yeah. Can you start us out?
Yeah. So I was originally doing it like in a top 3. I would say, and when we said retro thing, I literally just sent a note over to like Rob and Zach. Like when I say retro thing, like it can be anything retro gaming related over the course of the year, game releases, events, YouTube. Like I don't care, just your favorite retro gaming things of the year. I said, should I do all of them? You want me to read all of them?
Yeah, just power through them. Yeah.
Okay, so my sort of honorable mention was like my favorite YouTube video of the year is probably the Angry Video Game Nerd reviewing Doom console ports. Because I own all of them, and I agree with his feedback on all of them. The other honorable mention was actually being able to go back out to yard sales for the first time in 2 years. Didn't find a lot, but it's just sort of nice to be able to go out and look for weird oddities. One of this is off topic totally, but like years ago, I still kind of regret not getting this. There was a yard sales in my neighborhood even where this guy had tons of like giant metal like sticker vending machines, like the kind of things that would be like in a roller rink. Like they're huge. These things were as tall as me. Like there was like stacks of them, and he had one that was Pac-Man. It was like from the 80s. It was a giant vending machine with Pac-Man stickers. But I'm like, I tried to like, can I just buy the stickers? Is what I tried. He's like, nope, I got to go to the machines. I'm like, where am I going to put like this 6 foot tall vending machine that I can't even first of all, I don't know how I'm going to get this thing home.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, well, I guess I still him and off. I should have just bought that thing. And then my 3 actual favorite things, Analog Pocket, actually being real and actually being good. Sorry if that upsets you. You still haven't gotten yours, I assume.
Nope.
Yeah. So I've been playing Bonk's Adventure on that lately, which is a pretty good port.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then I had the Live Alive remake was my next favorite thing because I've been waiting a long time to play that game. I tried a fan translation, but I don't know. There's something about having like a real version of it that I enjoyed a lot, and I played through that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as should be a surprise to no one, Midwest Gaming Classic 2022. It was back. It was every year it gets larger and larger. What they have, like what I like is, like I'll say things about it, they're gonna sound like a complaint, but they're not. Like the show changes a lot every year. Like in the early days, it was like tons and tons of pinball and tons of like, you know, people's home arcade games, a lot of like small exhibitors. And now, like the current show, it's like here's 100 Mandalorian pinballs and a bunch of, you know, Rob Zombie pinballs, like the newer stuff, right? Like the things that have been released that are new. And the arcade machines tend to be, I incorrectly called them MAME cabs. They're not really. They have a lot of machines where people have like boards, but they don't have cabinets, so they put them in these like kind of generic machines.
Yeah.
You know, they're things that look like a MAME cabinet because they're a generic machine, but they're actually running like the real original game.
Yeah.
But with modern joysticks and stuff. So it's an interesting hybrid, and there's a lot of those there now too. And it's different, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just a different show than it was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I like playing some old pinball games I've never seen before, but you know, Mandalorian pinball is pretty good too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that new Godzilla one and the new TMNT one are both great.
Yeah, they did not have I don't think they had the Godzilla one. But they have, I mean, it's a lot of like just, you know, whatever the hot new pinball, you know, 2 years ago it was like a ton of Metallica pinball and so on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So those are my favorite things of the year. What about you?
Let's see. What are my favorite things? So, the deflation of Intellivision, just watching that dumpster fire. But I will go into that in a minute because I actually thought of another quick topic that I will spring on you after all this.
Okay.
I like that I got my Atari VCS about this time last year, so before 2022, like right before. I was one of the first people that got it. And I immediately upgraded it, plugged it in once, and it was already too slow for a bunch of things. So I immediately put it back in a box. And I would make it a listener prize, but I like our listeners. So, but for real, I have Speedrun Tower, which you released this year.
Yeah.
I consider that retro.
Yeah, I mean, it's on a retro system. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mister, just in general, you know, I really got into it. I love that thing. It's really fixed a bunch of my complaints I've had with RetroArch and all that stuff. It just works. It remembers your controller settings. So, you know, I use it specifically for PS1 and Turbo, well, sometimes Turbo Graphics 16. And I don't have problems where if I pick up a different controller, it doesn't know what's happening. It remembers which controller for which core really well. I'm assuming, well, you wouldn't have that problem with the Pocket because the Pocket, and not that you modded yours, but if you do, you're using the same controller no matter what because it's built in. But, you know, the fact that they added PS1, 32X, and Saturn all this year is just insane, especially since the Saturn 32X guy is in the Ukraine. He's still doing this stuff. Like even last week, there were updates, just nuts.
Yeah, he fled Ukraine, as I understood. He has a home in Spain, right?
That's the EverDrive guy.
Oh, EverDrive guy. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I confused my guys.
Yeah. So many smart people in the Ukraine. Replaying it early January last year, I replayed King's Quest 6, and I just need to do that all the time. Just all the time. The TMNT collection that came out, what's it called? The Kungabao collection is just amazing. I haven't played Atari 50 yet, but that probably would be on here. But what's that? Is it Digital Foundry? Is that the name of the development company?
Or Digital Eclipse. One of
Digital
those two.
Eclipse. Yeah, Digital Foundry is like a podcast or whatever. But yeah, Digital Eclipse, they are just like they're batting 1,000 right now, you know. And then, you know, the modern retro stuff, Vampire Survivor, Arcade Paradise, both got a lot of my attention this year, and I had fun playing both, especially Vampire Survivor. But Arcade Paradise, you know, is its own thing. Let's just
Yeah.
say that. But we have Zach has a few things in here. I'm glad he put in. What's he got?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to? I can get some of them. You want to get them? I don't.
Yeah,
really...
you want to start? Yeah.
Yeah. So he mentions one of his highlights for the past year was his 8-year-old finally taking an interest in retro games. Meaning he likes to watch them. He enjoys Mega Man, Zelda, and Metroids, and that sometimes he even makes good suggestions.
Yeah. And then the Pocket Updater utility. So this updater, it's really, I haven't done it, obviously, because I still haven't gotten mine. By the way, I'll get into that right now. I got an email from support.analog.co,
Mhm.
and I responded to it. I got it October 31st. I responded to it a few weeks ago. No response, but I did get an email saying, like, we're short-staffed, whatever. It might take a while for us to get back to you. Then I responded again, and then I went to their website this time and filled out a support form thing, and still no response. So they told me it was ready to be shipped in October. Haven't heard since. And Zach heard his was going to be shipped, or yours or whatever, the week before that, and you got yours like 3 weeks after.
Yep.
Yeah, so who knows where mine is. And but anyway, that updater, it's really simple to get on there, and then it just does it. You run one quick script, and then there's nothing you do again. You can run all those cores in your pocket. So that's one of Zach's favorites, where you could do GB, GB Color, GBA, Neo Geo stuff, all that stuff, NES, Super NES. Yeah, very cool. And play old stuff like Space War and Pong, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. When I got he told me about this, but I don't feel like doing any kind of modding to it. I know this isn't really a mod, but I think it's cool. My only interest in the system is being able to play, like, work through my backlog of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games.
Yeah, you have boxes of carts that you have to play through anyway. So why mod it?
Why? And then eventually when I get the Lynx and Game Gear, adapters, that'll be a thing. I've got like a dozen Lynx games that I've maybe not played. I haven't played most of them past the title screen, really.
Yeah.
His other pick was the Lego Atari 2600. He thinks it might be 1-to-1 in scale. Actually, I don't know. That would be a really big Lego set. But
That's
it's,
cool,
got kind of functional switches, and it's based on the first 2600 he ever owned.
Nice. Yeah. So thanks, Zach, for coming along with us on all that. And my surprise topic would be 2023 predictions, and I'll start with one. I'll start with two.
Okay.
My first one would be 1UP Arcade will release a 720 cap. Those are kind of hard to come by, obviously. There's no real good ports. Like, seriously, the Game Boy port might be the best. And they work with Atari already, so kind of why not? And my second one will be, we will see the conclusion of Intellivision. Whether they just screw everyone, or they just say, here's a you all get the console you paid for, and we will never support it.
Yeah, I might make a bid at the IP when they go bankrupt again.
That might be...
I heard a rumor like Tommy Tallarico bought it for like $100,000, basically.
Yeah, he bought it for real cheap.
Yeah.
Do you have any predictions for 2023?
No, I do not. Because I wasn't thinking about this. What would be something reasonable to predict?
Maybe a remake that Switch would do?
Yeah, a lot of those have been announced. The ones I'm thinking of have all kind of been announced already.
Did you see there's remakes of Oath and one other for East?
I did see there's 2 new East games coming out, so I can't predict that. Yeah, East 10 is coming out.
And then Oath is making a remake.
The remake is Oath and Felghana.
Yeah.
Which is the East 3 remake. So it's the East 3 remake.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm really excited about that, but it's hard to say if that's going to get a US release.
Maybe any new mini consoles coming out? A Turbo
No, I think
Duo?
I think that fad is done.
I think so too.
I think that's over. Um, I don't see anyone getting into that business again for a while. I mean, Nintendo's like, well, why should we make minis when we can just charge you like $10 a month to give you half of the games that the mini includes, right?
Yeah. Or is there
Um,
another IP that a millionaire hasn't bought and ruined yet? Um,
yeah, it's really. I mean, like Apple's obviously never going to do an Apple II mini, which would be kind of like a dream system for many people.
mhm, mhm.
Um, and Atari is still, Atari will probably release something. I don't know. There'll be some way that they continue to re-release stuff. Well, I guess the Atari 50 is all stuff they haven't previously re-released, so that's cool.
Yeah, that is
Um,
cool.
yeah, I don't think I have anything right now.
Well, we have all year to make predictions. So
Yeah.
if our listeners want to make predictions, please email us, email@retrogameclub.net. We don't know when the first episode of season 5 will be, so get them in quick just so you know they're in. And then we have Game Club.
Yes, we do.
So I did Primal Rage, and so this game, when I played it in the arcade back in the day, I didn't give it much time, and then at that time, my dad worked for a vending company that also, this was in the 90s, so also did a lot of jukebox stuff. He was like, I don't know what his job was there, but for some reason, we had a Primal Rage in our garage for a few months. And I played it for like an entire day and did not get good at all. I kind of got sick of it and didn't really pick it up since. And so my memory of it wasn't too great. So this time I meant to play the 32X port of it. I just didn't have time to get that going. I don't even know if I own that one, but in fact, I do think I own that one, but my 32X is put away right now because it just doesn't work in my setup. So I was going to do it on the Mister. Anyway, I went with the SNES port, and it was fine. So this is a 1994 game that its backstory is a giant meteor hit the Earth. Civilization went back into kind of tribal civilizations. The new planet was called Earth, URTH. And 7 beasts came up from below the Earth's crust and have some magical type powers. And the humans worship them. And this is kind of to see who would be the god of the Earth. And it's a Street Fighter 2 clone that, so you have special moves, you have fatalities, and it's an all right game. The gameplay is, I want to say, better than the first few Fatal Furies, which, to me is kind of on the low end of Street Fighter clones. So I think it's better than that. I like that you can eat the humans, and the design is great. They did this with stop animation, and it just looks really cool, depending on your port. So 32X is pretty good. SNES and Genesis not as good, but none of them are really bad. People tend to rip on the Saturn port. And I guess there's a DOS port. I know we have some listener emails that go into that a bit. But I would like to touch on the sequel, which never came out, but you can play at Galloping Ghost, and I did. And the nice gentleman working there gave me the combo, the secret combo that lets you play as the dinosaurs, because I guess at first you play as a human.
Yeah, I played it when it was Midwest Gaming Classic. Not this year, it was their previous year. And yeah, I remember you start off as humans, and it's kind of fun as a human game, right? I thought it was actually a pretty good fighter. And then, yeah, I don't know what I did, and suddenly I was a dinosaur.
Yeah, I guess it's not too easy. That's why, like, there's the guy gave me the combo. He's like, trust me, I'll have more fun with it this way. But I really liked that game, and it seemed close to being done. Like they should have released it, because it seemed better in every way than Primal Rage, which, Primal Rage I give, an average score. It scores back when it was released, were good to great, and
Mhm.
that's why it was released on everything, even the 3DO and Jaguar CD and
Yeah,
Game
yeah, I know. I
Gear.
put that in my notes. Like it was ported to everything.
Yeah. So, what do you think of this one?
So I, I'm gonna get a little bit of trouble here because I have been learning over the past week that there is actually a pretty strong fan community still for this game.
Hmm.
Um, but like when it came out, um, I really didn't get into it. I think maybe I didn't understand it at the time, but I was probably pretty burned out on one-on-one fighters when it was released.
Hmm.
Like I played a lot of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 and a lot of like Street Fighter and Super Street Fighter 2. And I think I remember seeing it and just kind of being like, I don't want to learn a new game, right? So I think at the time I just really wasn't into it. I think at the time I wasn't into any new one-on-one fighters
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
And I knew it had to be popular because it was on everything. So this time around, I own a loose 32X card, but it's been just a crazy hectic week. I don't know if other people are going through this, but like at my office, people are just realizing that like the year's about to end. And a lot of people had like goals and stuff they wanted to achieve this year, and now they're going to try and do it all in the last 2 weeks.
Hmm.
And it's created a lot of busy work for me. But anyways, I did have some speed runs going. I decided to give that a chance to see what a playthrough looks like, and they're kind of hilarious. Did you watch any speed runs for this game ever?
No, I never got to, like, the kind of ends with a boss rush type
Yeah.
thing, and I never got there. So I did watch a video so I could witness all that and see an ending.
Yeah. So the speed runs are all about like 4 to 5 minutes a piece. I started the Jaguar CD one because I just thought that would be a fun one to watch. And the guy doing it, he's like, "Well, all you have to do is mash the B button." And it's just he plays as the gorilla. I'm sorry, I don't know the characters' names. I didn't really know the backstory either. I'm glad you recapped it because I didn't know the plot of the game. I just thought it was like dinosaurs are back for reasons,
Hmm.
you know. And yeah, it's just one move over and over again, just spamming one move. And even in the arcade run, it's just spamming that same move. So I'm guessing the AI just must be weak against that character or not very good. But the point of these games is to play against friends. So
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't matter that the computer AI is terrible. Um, I had to look at my own site to get this right. Back in 2008, I actually bought a sealed copy of this game for Genesis for $4. It was at a Salvation Army store. This was factory sealed. It was a real sealed copy, cardboard box and all that.
Did you open
And
it?
no, no, no. I had a loose copy and I have a loose 32X copy, so I'm not
Hmm.
going to open this. Like, I think it'd be kind of funny if I had like a YouTube channel, I could do like an unboxing video, I guess. I don't know. I ended up selling it a few years ago just because like, I'm not a sealed game collector
Yeah.
and I'm not going to be.
Well,
And
games are made to be played, so I have them in a box or in a Tawada sealed thing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if I held on to it longer for the WADA, price inflation period, I guess maybe I would have done better. But I just sold it. I don't even remember. I don't think I got more than like $40 for it. I don't think I really got a lot for it.
Hmm.
Um, so whatever. Hopefully someone is enjoying having it on their shelf. I don't really care. And then yeah, I played Primal Rage 2, and it was kind of fun. I think that maybe it was coming out too late. Like this was the time period where people wanted stuff like Killer Instinct or Tekken or whatever. They wanted more of the 3D fighters.
Yeah.
I guess Killer Instinct isn't really a 3D fighter, but I think it was probably too close to the 3D fighter era or the middle of the 3D fighter era, and they just didn't think it would sell.
Yeah, true. Even though
It-
it's great, yeah, it might be right game,
yeah,
wrong time or something.
yeah, it felt like a finished game. It's not like I was playing a game where I'm like, okay, yeah, they still had a year of work on this thing. It seemed like it was done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I did look up, Dennis Harper worked on this game, and he's kind of an industry legend. He did Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, Tubin, Return of the Jedi. What else is on his list here? Uh, WWE Crush Hour. I have not played
Oh,
that game.
yeah, no. Y- they're not all going to be tens, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, a lot of great games. He has a long history in video gaming. But what was your game?
So I went with Fighter's History. So this was a game that I sort of vaguely remember from the arcade. Um, I saw it and was like, wow, that sure is a Street Fighter 2 ripoff. And I guess it was so much of a ripoff, there was a lawsuit, but ultimately Capcom lost the lawsuit because it turns out you can like really, really copy a game and it not be copyright infringement because you're not using like the literal characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I played it on Switch. I finally got a little bit of time. I actually was playing it at like 11 o'clock at night. That was the first time I was free one night this week. And I just decided I'm just going to do like one stage with each character just to kind of get an idea what it's like. So I tried each character for one stage, and yeah, it's definitely 100% a Street Fighter 2 ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, mechanically, it's exactly the same. The special moves are kind of the same. The character archetypes are kind of the same. You know, it's a Street Fighter 2, right? And it's not bad.
With worse hitboxes though.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. And worse like voice acting.
Yeah.
You know, there's one guy that I think was yelling, "Take a good look at that." And when he threw a projectile, do you know the guy I'm talking about?
No.
That's what it sounded like he was yelling. And it was just like, yeah, that part was bad, but like overall it's fine. I kind of ranked it as on par with Eternal Champions.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, yeah, if it's 1994 and you got a few friends over and a thing of Cool Ranch Doritos and Mountain Dew or whatever.
Some Jolt, yeah.
Jolt, yeah, it'd be Jolt. It's the 90s, right?
Yeah.
You know, there'd be, this is an afternoon of gaming for you and a friend, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize there was a sequel on Neo Geo. I should check that out.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that either.
Karnov's Revenge, which I have heard of. I may have played that.
Oh, okay, I realized that. Well, that's why I didn't know that was, I've heard of that. I didn't know it was a sequel either.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a Game Club game, so we can check that out. I know I just ripped on Fatal Fury, but I do like Fatal Fury better than this one, simply because it's unique. It's a unique clone. You know what I mean? Where this is just a clone. Like, you know, if this was right next to Street Fighter 2, any edition, you would play Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, unless there was a long line.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I kind of like the fake Vega character the best, but you know, like I said, they're all just Street Fighter characters with slightly different outfits. Not even outfits so much. Like, it's sort of subtle changes.
I did like the Muay Thai kick fighter. I was best with him.
Okay. So fake Sagat you liked.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, he did have Ryu moves though.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that where the moves are like they kind of interchange the character in moves around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the character that sort of looks like Chun-Li doesn't have Chun-Li moves.
Yeah. When in doubt, throw a fireball, Ryu fireball, and it usually works.
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do for 2023?
Well, I figured we got a few weeks before we record again, so I'm going to play Quake 2, something that came up when I was looking at the N64 expansion card, and I saw a note that Quake 2 on Nintendo 64 is improved in some way if you have the expansion card, memory card.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I'm going to do Parasol Stars. I actually was emailing Majors about Turbo Duo collecting since he appreciates all our TurboGrafx 16 banter. I said, what would you pick? And he gave me a few, and I picked from his list Parasol Stars. Yeah. So, yeah, that's Quake 2, Parasol Stars. And if any of our listeners want to write in about all the games we talked about, those new games, if you think Intellivision is going to do something in 2023, or if you have any other predictions, please email us. Email at retrogameclub.net. That is email at retrogameclub.net. We are on all the social media platforms that billionaires own, and Zach maintains that. We have a link tree in our show notes, so people could check those out. And another shout out to Inverse Phase, Raftronaut. Both those guys do our bumper musics. Yeah, just another shout out to Zach for doing more work than we do.
Yes.
Yeah, dealing with my random text messages. And yeah, we have some great feedback this week. First one is from Jimmy from the Pie Factory podcast, which if you love Atari games, you should definitely check it out. Or even if you love Chicago and the Midwest, there's a lot of that there. You should you should definitely check out that podcast. But some feedback. He is not buying Hugh your I guess it's theory that Coleco purposely nerfed their ports to other consoles for the Donkey Kong series. He said, they did hire the Kitchen Brothers from Activision to do it, and he said maybe Donkey Kong Jr. really doesn't hold up. And then he also says, we talked about case merchandise. He lived near one for about 10 years, and he definitely went in there, and you were right. It was like service merchandise, except he never thought about buying console games there.
All right. Well, I'm going to continue to believe that ColecoVision, urban legend. I doubt there's any evidence for it, but I'm going to put up like a I want to believe poster with Donkey Kong on it.
Yeah.
We got one from Thomas who has a lot to say about Primal Rage, and I am going to butcher your email. I'm just going to warn you. He said he was 10 years old when Primal Rage was first released in the arcades, and he still remembers when he saw it. There was a huge crowd at the arcade, and you could from a distance you could hear all like the monster growls and stuff. And then he cut through the line, saw what was going on, and it was claymation dinosaurs fighting each other. It was just kind of like over the top, gory graphics and so on. And during the first match, someone did a special move with Armadon. Which one is Armadon?
I don't know their names.
Okay. And someone leaned over and was like, hey, that move does 25% damage. They were very impressed by that. And he also thought, probably because he was 10, that the toilet humor was great. That was actually a turnoff for me, but I was also, how old? I was like 20 probably when this game came out. Anyhow, he said when the game got a home release, he kept calling all the stores in town to get a copy. Apparently, one service merchandise was tired of being asked because they yelled no at him very loudly. So he saved up enough allowance to get the Sega Genesis port. At the time, he was a pretty big Mortal Kombat fan. And Rage was actually the third fighting game he'd ever purchased behind the two MK games. And of course, the mechanics between them are not at all alike. At some point, he bought GamePro's printed guide to explain the systems, but he no longer has it anymore. Mm-hmm. It's probably on archive.org, right?
Oh, yeah, it's got to be.
Got to be. And he said after mastering it on Genesis at the hardest difficulty, he went back to the local arcades just in time for no one to care.
That's my favorite part of this email.
The massive showcase cabinets were gone, having been replaced by the smaller JAMA standard version. The game had been updated a little bit, but the tactics that he learned on Genesis were unaffected. But no one was crowning around it anymore because everybody had moved on to something else. Mm-hmm. Undeterred, he pulled. I'm picturing George Costanza in the Frogger Machine at this point, by the way. He made it his mission in life that whenever he found a Primal Rage arcade cabinet, he wanted to get the top score, so his name would be at the top of every leaderboard in his town. And his friends would even alert him to machines they discovered that he hadn't played.
I kind of did that with Galaga for a little bit.
No one was challenging his scores, but it was still something he enjoyed doing. Eventually, he got the 32 export of the game and was disappointed that it really didn't have that many upgrades, or any of the upgrades from the later, like the arcade enhancements. Little better audio and bigger sprites, or sorry, not better audio, same audio, bigger sprites. So not a great port. Mm-hmm. I think that was the one where when Angry Video Game Nerd reviewed the 32X, he didn't connect one of the cables correctly, so all you saw was the background of the game because the sprites were being rendered by the 32X hardware, but the background was being rendered by the Genesis.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so it was pretty funny. He obviously did that on purpose. He said the MS-DOS version was much better by comparison. I love this part in the email. He mentions having the 4-button Gravis gamepad with the detachable screw-in stick. So I owned one of these. Mm-hmm. It was a great controller. He said the audio was pretty unbearable, though, but the gameplay was much more accurate.
Yeah, it was like MIDI-esque, right?
Yeah. MIDI can be really good. It just depends, right?
Yeah.
I think, if you're trying to do like a heavier, like rock real instrumental sounding thing. MIDI's not great.
Yeah.
All right. A few years after the game's release, he got a huge collection of memorabilia from KB, the mail-in CD. Oh, I probably that unopened. I bet that unopened copy I sold had that mailer still. And he even made a custom Primal Rage Pog.
Nice.
So then, many, many years later, decades later, during COVID lockdowns, he and his friends did a multi-day live stream event on Twitch. His contribution was a how-to rage tutorial, which then made his YouTube algorithm, or sorry, he put it on YouTube also, and the algorithm started recommending it after other Primal Rage videos. He said it eventually got to 11,000 views, which was like way more than he thought it would ever get. As an adult, it was also a dream to own a legit version. After learning it's very hard to get an arcade perfect representation on a home console. But he eventually got the PCB, an upscaler, and a custom arcade stick. So it sounds like the kind of thing I saw at Midwest Gaming Classic.
Yeah,
where you
yeah.
You have most of the parts, you cobble it together. So he made a custom cabinet and finally had an authentic way to play it, and could frequently have could host events now where people could come and play Primal Rage among other things. And then this is where I started to learn there's a real fan community. So he mentions there is a Discord server, Earth Rage Discord. I don't know if that's enough for people to find it. It's not huge, but it's a great place to talk about some of the nuances in the game and share accomplishments they've had on it. He said it's still very excited to see someone come in and like discover the game for the first time. I'm gonna. It's kind of a sidebar here. I'm just gonna get in. So anyhow, that's his story with Primal Rage. From the early days of elbowing his way through a crowd to watching new generations pick it up and try it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Obviously, the game still lives on forever in terms of bad console ports. I think I probably have this on one of the GameCube collections. The IP is technically owned now by NetherRealm Studios, who develop modern Mortal Kombat and Injustice games.
Cool.
So that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That could be a 2023 prediction, a new Primal Rage.
New Primal Rage. I don't know. So first of all, I'm getting I have a ton of games pre-ordered for 2023. Like I have multiple 80-hour RPGs pre-ordered, but I just saw this is the worst. All right. Did you see the news about the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster collection?
Another one?
Well, it's the same one that's on Android and iOS, but they're bringing it out to Switch and PS4. So it's Final Fantasy 1 through 6. They're going to do a physical release. What do you think they're going to charge for the physical release?
I mean, the fact that you're bringing it up, I gotta say $60.
You got to go a little higher.
70?
A little more.
90.
75.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
$75 for Final Fantasy 1 through 6 remasters. Which, first of all, could I pay 90 and not get Final Fantasy 2 on the collection? I was going to ask that. Final Fantasy, I like all those games. Final Fantasy 2 should not be played by anyone. I mean, original Final Fantasy 2, not Super Nintendo Final Fantasy 2.
Yeah.
I'm really on the fence. I'm probably not going to get it. I have most of those games on PSP or Game Boy Advance or cell phone already, so I don't feel like I need that collection.
Yeah.
I guess I have to see what else they enhance. But yeah,
it's not like they're adding
insane.
ray tracing.
Yeah. I think that price is insane.
Absolutely. I mean, it should be $29.
Yeah. But even 60, I could justify it's $10 a game. I think they sell them standalone 15 a game on the Android market. So $10 a game, that seems reasonable.
It's still ridiculous.
I know. Okay, here'll be my prediction. I think we will get Twilight Princess on Switch.
Great. I'm almost done beating it.
Good. All right, so thank you, Thomas. Sorry for butchering your email. And real quick, Kevin, I'm going to butcher your email next, who writes about PDAs. Not public display of affection, but personal digital assistants. He had a PDA in college that he used to keep track of his class assignments and, of course, played Minesweeper and Tetris. Because this was the early zeros, there was a Tamagotchi game based on George W. Bush where you could feed him barbecue or Box Al Gore. That had to not be an official release. It said it would drain your battery in 15 minutes. He might be interested to know that there's actually a Palm OS emulator available for RetroPie. It's called Mu, M-U. It's under experimental packages, but it seems to work well. And he sent some pictures of a Pi Boy that he created, or assembled, whatever the right term is, with the Palm OS emulator, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks great. It has bootleg Mario Brothers running on there. The biggest problem is that a lot of them gate their content behind 20-year-old serial numbers.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on, you want to get social media real quick?
Sure, yeah, but I just want to say, thank you for all those emails, and to everyone that emailed this season. That's what the show is all about, playing the Game Club games with you guys, hearing about not only your experience with the games, but like, the emails we got today, your experiences through life with the games, when you first ran into them and stuff like that. We love hearing those stories. So again, that's email@retrogameclub.net. And yeah, some social, Zach put out there. We have some answers from favorite retro gaming related thing from 2022. And there's a physical release of Radiant Silver Sun Special Edition on the Switch. Was number one for someone. And also, let's see what else. Shout out to Shadow Gangs on the Dreamcast, which was also good, he says. And completing Road to Ray Earth. Getting Magic Knight Ray Earth for the Saturn purely on resale profits. So spent $1,100 of other people's money on a clean copy of a great game. Yeah, that's a good one. And then someone writing about Primal Rage, that he loves it. He has the toy, the game, a mask collection, which I didn't know existed. I'll have to look up those masks.
All right, so I think that is it for 2022. Thanks for listening all year, if you did, or for the first time, if this is your first episode somehow.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and see you in 2023.